Welcome to IPIP Group number 3rd chat. My name is Ahmed Abdul Wakil, and I will be your host today for our 3rd IPIP Fire Chat session. As you know, that our first 2 sessions were purely on industrial topics, and especially around the software development and career growth in the IT industry. This session is on the research and development fundings, how to get involved, where we are going to meet with our academic and industrial research experts to get a perspective on R&D funding opportunities available in Ireland and EU. Let me just give a brief overview of the agenda for today's session. First, I'll kick off our IPIP intro, a very brief intro about the IPIP group. Followed by I will introduce our panelists. And after the basic intros, I have a set of questions, to the panelists where we are going to understand a bit more about their interest and their experience in the IT research field. And afterwards, we'll go to our session where we are going to learn from them the available types of research funding with academic and industrial perspective. And after understanding the theory and the high-level details, then we go to the real-world examples and walkthroughs to understand the example projects, that how they obtained the funding and how they have applied the funding with example projects. Afterwards, our panelist Nawaz will go through all the details for the future of IPIP, as well as especially he will help us understand our immediate plans after today's session in the scope of the research, how the audience will be able to collaborate into the research funding projects, as well as he will help us understand the upcoming 4th Fire Chat session. Now, let me just kick off the IPIP intro itself.
IPIP, Irish Pakistani ICT Professionals. An open access platform for present and future Irish Pakistani ICT professionals. Professional and social networking. Information and training seminars. Career guidance events. Upskilling sessions. Community get-togethers. Irish Pakistani ICT professionals. Join us, guide us, contribute and play your role in this community building project. IPIP, Irish Pakistani ICT professionals.
All right, thanks very much, for waiting. And now we go to officially start our next, session where I'm going to introduce my panelists. I have got, 3 panelists today, and all of them have, extensive experience in the research side as well. So first, our panelist is Dr. Muhammad Atif. He's a bit late. He's going to join us soon. Dr. Muhammad Atif has around 15 years of programming experience and over several years of expertise in academia-industry linkage in the space of machine learning and data analytics. Atif has contributed to several IT projects which are funded by Enterprise Ireland, Science Foundation Ireland, and EU. Our second panelist is Ehsan Alai. who has got around 15 years of programming experience in networking and backend software systems. He started in the academics and then shifted towards the pure research. He's a contributor of several the networking protocols in Linux, and currently he's working as a senior researcher here in Ireland. Ehsan was also part of the implementation of a clean slate networking architecture named as Recursive Internet Architecture. His interests include energy and carbon-aware intelligence, load management in the cloud, machine learning, future internet architectures, and the mobility management. Our third panelist is Faisal Ghaffar, who also, like Ehsan, it is the first time he has joined our panel in our fight chat. Faisal has started the career with the software development and then shifted towards the research. He has led several EU H2020 projects. His research interests are machine learning, computational social science, graph theory, and game theory. I would like to say special thanks to Nawaz Zai, who is joining me as a moderator of this panel, who's gonna help us during the session as well as at the end. He's gonna be handling all the questions and the interactions on our live Facebook and YouTube channels. I really encourage all of the audience who is live now that during this session, please ask as many questions as possible so that we really do a deep dive and understand the area we are looking into. That is the R&D fundings, how to get involved. Hi, Atif, welcome. Right. So after this, let me now go to our first session where I would like to ask the personal experiences and the motives, of the panelists, being in the research side. First, let me go to chime in Faisal. Faisal, can you help us understand, what are the aspects in the IT research field that keeps you motivated? Different people have different, motivations, but let us understand your motives, why you are in the IT research field.
Thanks very much, Ahmed. Hopefully everyone can understand me and can listen to me clearly. Yeah. So that's a good question, I think. What keeps me motivated, especially in research. So one of the key, I think, motivation for myself in research is the ability to look into the upcoming new technologies or existing technologies, and then in the existing to solve a problem with existing technology, or maybe try to propose something new or innovate. So that's, I think, is the key motivation for me in this research area. So it's quite exciting, and that you always come up, you think about what are the problems in terms of within your domain in the industry or academia or the projects you're working on, and then you try to solve those problems with the innovative ideas. So the research is always new contributions. So that's what motivates me.
Thanks so much.
Hopefully I answered your question.
Yeah, sure. Like everybody, I think, has personal motives behind any field, and you have well defined your motivational aspects. Let me now go to Atif. Maybe Atif, if you can bring some insights about your interest, that what are the aspects in the IT research field that is keeping you motivated so far? Atif.
Thank you very much. So in my opinion, it's for me, it's coming from the passion. So if you see the world around yourself, you want to do some positive contributions. We keep on hearing things that we want to change. IT is one of the ways with which you can contribute towards it. In specific, these days, we know machines are replacing a lot of the manual procedures and processes, and we know when manual procedures and processes are there, they could make our lives a bit more challenging, and at times there could be elements where we would like to bring in machine to resolve one of the issues that faces us. For instance, be it whether the voting was transparent, whether informing the people about policy making driven by data sets, or seeing the pattern, whether there is a drive for racism, which is a cliche. How can we address using technology in a positive way? So from an academic standpoint, we are always chasing something that is making the world a better place. With industries, there are certain limitations in the sense like you need to have budget, you need to have a lot of support to go and build your products and so on and so forth, like depending upon the policies and strategic planning. When you are in academia, you are at the forefront of any dreamy ideas that you can think of. Once that becomes successful, then you can roll it out into a more of a prototype to a product. So academia gives me more of a freedom to think about, to become a more more responsible citizen through the practices and methods. And this is where IT is one of the most approachable field where you are required to have less amount of investment to pay it off. So unlike like in biology, you need a lot of DNAs and all these kind of things, whereas it's much more simpler here. Thank you.
All right, Atik, thanks so much. Let me go to Ehsan. Ehsan, like in last two sessions were around the software development, and like our audience is already up to date on the role of the development itself. But now this is our first session where we're going into a bit of research side. So can I, ask you, Ehsan, like in your opinion, or like in your experience, especially in your research engineering job, what is the percentage of software development, that happens, being a research engineer these days?
Thank you very much, everybody. Like every project, research project has some ratio of research work and the development work, but it depends on the nature of the project and your targeted TRL level. So technology readiness level is actually very important. The higher TRL level you want to achieve, the more development work involved. However, every idea starts from 100% research, and when you want to start building from your concept, so then the development actually starts. Programming for research purposes is a bit different than programming for software engineering for industrial project. The latter actually typically involve more heavyweight processes like testing, code reviews, managing deployments, and rollbacks, etc. Research programming is a bit smaller scale than what you typically find in industry. Perhaps only 1 or 2 people work on the code. Some projects in academia are actually a bit bigger, but for the most part, they don't compare to the software efforts in even a mid-sized tech companies. So because of the small scale projects, so many standard software engineering practices are not really used in academia. For example, testing, code reviews, deployments, and version management. So this is I hope I'd answered your question.
Yeah, sure. Like if I understand correctly, like in summary, I would say that there is a software development happens, but the scope of that development would not be, as like a production ready, like tools that we build in the industry, and then it varies from project to project. Like like if I understand correctly, right?
Exactly.
Perfect. Nawaz, do you have any questions as well, Nawaz, that you want to ask to the audience?
I always confuse myself, especially when I see the word R&D, research, and being like a developer. And I just want to understand you guys when you are just working on like a loads of projects and loads of products, and how you sync up yourself. Like there are loads of publications, articles, technology is just changing like a blink of eye. Are you reading a loads of books, articles? How you synchronize yourself with the latest trends in technology?
Uh, uh, if I would answer this question, I would say reading latest research paper, make this thing as your habit. So that's the first and most foremost thing. So if you make it your habit, that you need to read maybe at least 1 or 2 research paper in every alternate days. The other thing is attend conferences, seminars, and listen to keynote speeches in your area. What other thing you can do is you can create a Twitter account and follow other researchers. One other thing you can do is you can use Reddit. You can not only it will not only help to find new papers, but also to discuss those papers. So one of the best thing about Reddit is that people are more direct and honest when it comes to giving feedback on other people's work. So this will make you in line or update to the latest research trends in your area.
Very good. I just want to ask the same question, especially from academia point of view. Uh, Everyone is just thinking, yeah, I just want to do research. So one is a very pure industrial and commercial research. One is academic, where like I don't know, I just dream something. Oh, I need to know what happened in the last 20 years and what is happening as is today. And if I'm going to introduce or innovate something, and how I just go through all this
Okay,
process.
so I'll take this probably. So I think like there is a little bit of confusion when academia works on research, and there is when industry works on research. Where do they fit in, and how do they complement each other, and what are the efforts? So I'll say, if you see from a perspective of academia, the research goes from TRL 1 to TRL 9. It goes to every single TRL level. Generally, their focus is on the 1 to 6, and most of the industry actually do not touch from 7 to 9 as well. It depends, because the thing is, like, not most of the organizations would go and launch a product like Facebook, which would be a TRL level 9, right? So it's more about like ready product and going massive and very mature product. From an academia research point of view, we are more passionate, and we have a lot more freedom of funds available from the government, and as well as from other streams, where we pool the resources and we take risks for ideas that might never see a production anytime soon. Whereas if you are in industry, it's very risky to go and invest on some research, which could be a breakthrough research, but might not happen in, let's say, next 5 to 10 years. So a lot of the industry would chicken out from this thing because they don't have enough funds. So the option over here is to pool resources in academia, let them drive this research, which is at a fundamental level, and once it's realized and to a certain degree where it could be adopted by industry, then that could be rolled out into industry. So as per se, breakthrough researches happen. Where do they take place? They usually take place in academia. Once they are in a stable notion, they are then adopted in industry, with limited funds of their own to actually do a bit of fundamental research, because they don't have much freedom around that. So that's where the line is. Once the idea is proven to a certain degree, it rolls into industry. Then they have a multiplier effect where they can, convert a product. Of course, they can take, advantage of partnerships with the industry, with academia as well. But the whole idea is to avoid risk as much as possible and let the risk being taken by academia first.
All right. So let me go to Faisal for next question, and I can see I think your internet is not behaving good today, but hopefully we'll keep you live with us.
Yeah.
The next thing, myself and Nawaz, have compiled, what thinking was about to understand a bit more about how you guys keep up with the latest, research trends in your area and be on top of it. Because as per my understanding, there's so much research going on, like even like in specific areas, every month we see there are tens of journals and hundreds of publications and conferences going on and workshops are going on. So how you as an individual, being in the research side, working on multiple projects, keep up with the latest research trends?
So I think that's another really good question. So the first thing I think we have to accept, and I apologize first in case my connection is gone again. So so to answer your question, the first thing I'll have to accept is that we cannot keep an eye on everything. So we have to stay focused on the areas we are working on. And then to stay focused, for example, if you're working in the text analytics or in the NLP domain, then there's a lot of conferences that you want to subscribe to or maybe get the updates. So every year these conferences happen. So you want to get updates in terms of what papers are being submitted, read a few papers, see where the research is going. Generally, like these conferences, they are building on from the previous versions. There's always new updates to the models or to the research. So I think the best way where I keep up to date to relevant is I find 1 or 2, maybe top 5 conferences and just on Twitter subscribe to them. So just simply you get like people whenever these conferences are on, people just put their papers on the Twitter or any social media. So that's one way. But there's a huge information, I call it externalities or noise. So the key thing I think is to stay focused on the areas you want to do. In terms of generally, if you want to stay up to date with what is going on in research, then obviously social media, there's a lot of channels to stay up to date. For example, you probably will aware last couple of days, the recent update in science, in biology, the DeepMind, Google's DeepMind solved a problem which was in biology with their AlphaFold 2 algorithm using deep neural networks. So I think these things just come up in the news anyway, but for your own research, you have to stay focused and so keep an eye on the conferences.
All right, thanks very much. So can I ask like Ehsan and Atif, like on the same aspect that, to like understand a bit more that you guys, read the research papers or publications or like anything just on the projects that you are actively working, or somehow you need to, or read things outside of your current projects as well?
So should I go first, Ehsan?
Yeah, please.
Okay, sure. So it's more like a hobby and a passion. Like, if you ask somebody, why do you read a newspaper or, a couple of newspaper daily or not? It's more like a hobby. Like it gets instilled into you. And do you read news that concerns you, or do you at times read news that doesn't concern you directly? So it's more or less like the same thing. So we do read definitely research articles, keynote speeches, attend different workshops, and look for something valuable coming out through different dissemination processes and channels. We do have a focus around the topic where we are interested in, but besides that, we do have, like, because it's part of the hobby as well, it's part of like what you do day to day, you enjoy that, so you do get across things that you haven't been focusing on, and that's what gives you what make your mind more creative about it, makes you interdisciplinary. And for example, like, I'm coming from computer science background, right? But I do work a lot with people who are coming from policy making and social sciences. And what happens is their viewpoint of different things are very different from us, but we do meet somewhere. But if I just stay focused on my bit of it, I will never be able to explore what they have to say on this and merge with them. So one of my projects is in medicine domain. So medicine and computer science, if you were to see, could be extremely isolated if you don't see a point of bringing them together. Another project has an element of coming from legal standpoint as well. So legal thing is you can see now cyber laws and all these kind of things, but if you can easily see it, it could be a different thing. Likewise, there are some avenues which I'm also exploring, deals with finance and predicting whether the financial crunch will happen, or even like hardware engineers, a sensor would fail or something like that. But if you don't have this hobby to read other stuff, I mean, you'll be very much focused on what you do, and then it would be too narrow to actually make contributions, because the world works together. They don't work in silos. They don't work independent of each other. If you create a hospital, you need an entire team that will have people who are not just from medicinal domain. So likewise, in university, a lot of different fields are working together. So you can't just restrict yourself to one particular idea and then assume that that would be enough, because that won't define the impact, the real solution.
Got it. Yeah. Isaan, if you want to add something here, before we,
exactly. I second Dr. Atif's comment on this, that research is really a habit instead of maybe a job or anything. I add on this that research is more an art than a science. For a good researcher, you need to be versatile. You need to be a statistician. You need to be a mathematician. They need to know how to handle budget, how to achieve their goals, and within to keep those to achieve your goals within your budget, your available budget. A good researcher should be a good team player and a good team manager as well, if they are managing a team. And a good researcher must be also aware of and fluent of required software tools and techniques and all other research techniques and skills. And most importantly, they must know how to handle the research data and how to extract useful information from the collected data. So without effective data skills, they will never get the exciting stage of analyzing their results. So this is just an addition on top of what Dr. Atif answered this question. Thank you.
Perfect. I think now we have understood a lot about the passion and the habit and the upcoming upcoming trends. To be a good citizen and to improve the world. Now we go to our next session. So that is about to understand the types of funding with academic and industrial perspective which are available. And for this, I'm glad that our panelists have done good data preparation. And we'll go to Atif first, if you can share your content with the audience, and afterwards we'll go to the other panelists.
Okay. Can you see my screen now?
I can see it now.
Great. Okay. So so the talk that I'll just pitch would be around the academic perspective of it, but it definitely would include other perspectives because we have a lot of intersection. So when I say it's coming from me, from an academia point of view, so that's where I see it's academic perspective. So how would you think about the topic like applying for funding, execution, and completion? So what are the ingredients? So first of all, for any funded project, there is funding available. And funding available meaning that there will be a call where, for example, like we are looking for COVID-19 grant, or we are looking for contribution on, let's suppose, something to do with social good, or there could be a broad theme that would be outlined in a funding call document. And what happens in these documents is you have you have to first read the call document, in which it will specialize, it would detail out the requirement that is required from you when you are going to submit that's I want to work on this project. So the first thing is we need to understand what does the call document say. We can't just think about like, oh, I know technology, I have brilliant ideas, but you first need to understand what is the need. The next thing is you need to understand the requirement and the team formation. So if they're looking for certain things in a certain way in this call, because it's a governmental policy or it's an industrial policy, or if it's an overall policy which impacts us at a global or continental level, then we need to understand how to build a team around itself. So maybe one expertise is not enough. Most likely one expertise is not enough for large volume, big sized, big funded projects. So you need to think about who can help us in this project. So maybe some people would come from NGO side, maybe some people who are actually on the ground making some differences. Some people might come from a social science academic perspective. Some people might come from industrial background where they are contributing to a certain technology, let's say blockchain. And then you have certain partners coming from again from academia, but from a different discipline than social sciences, maybe from, let's say, artificial intelligence and so on and so forth. So next step is, after you have understood the call document, you need to understand the requirement, and then you build team according to that, so that you are ready and say, yes, this is my team. The next thing is you need to understand what's the budget like and how much budget you will allocate. You can't just think about like, I'm bringing in 7 different groups into this team, and I don't have the budget for all of them. Or you can't just imagine that there will be infinite amount of budget. So that's not what's going to happen. And then you have to justify the timelines in which that budget cost will be incurred. So it just couldn't happen like, in a limitless style of budget. Next thing, you set an internal deadline and work throughout that deadline and prepare a response document from your end. Why you need to set an internal deadline? Because you need to make sure that when you have to submit towards the final deadline, you actually meet your own internal deadlines, and every partner on the project has a say into that document, which would identify how you will address the idea that you are proposing as a solution or approaching towards a solution. Finally, make sure that your eligibility is right there. You have the right eligible people leading the project or part of the team, and see what is the evaluation criteria once you submit the project. Now, here is the thing, only maybe for most of the projects which are like heavily funded, maybe fraction of a part is technical, maybe 10 to 15%, at most 20%. And the rest of the 80% is all around like, how would you manage it, administrative, budget, and all these kind of things. Because you're making a claim that you're not going to produce a new technology, but you're making a claim this will change the lives of people. So definitely 80% part justifies that. So the next thing is, when you talk about partners and team, see balance between the university and the industry and gender. Because there are certain expertise that are very valuable in universities, and there are other expertise that are available in industry. We do complement each other. We do not actually fully replace each other. So that's where, in universities, people might go for something fundamental. They might think of some innovative idea that might disrupt a way things are done. Whereas industry could claim, I have been into this area for last 10 years and we have been generating products. So if certain innovation takes place in this particular sector, we'll provide the foundation for what is available currently. And then university will provide something coming from their side which could be a disruption or innovative technology that we can plug into already existing technology that we have, and have a balance between an adoptable solution. So that's where a partnership is very meaningful. And of course, gender is important because it's one of the parts of the policies to bring both genders at a certain level in a balance. Likewise, international and local participations are also part of the deal. So sometimes you have to think about local partnerships. Sometimes you have to think about international partnerships. For example, if you are applying for an EU fund, you need to have at max, at times, like 3 partners could be from one country, and the other partners should be from another country. And there are other things. For example, if you might want to benefit from Eastern and Southern European parts of the world, because it benefits EU to bring them up to the same level, because there are scarcity of funding available compared to other parts. So there could be other things. So this international versus local is important. Then fundamental research versus applied solution. So what is your goal? Are you going to contribute towards something which is fundamental in nature? For example, a few years ago, if you were proposing, like 2 years ago on blockchain, it would be more like fundamental research, because people didn't know what blockchain would be like in different scenarios. And maybe you want to invent something into that. But now it has become more like an applied solution. People know what blockchain is, and now you can bring that as an application into different domains. So that changes the focus. So every then and now, there are certain things which are new and novel, and nobody knows how to realize them. Then it contributes into fundamental. Once they are known, then it's all about to bringing into another domain, and that's when it becomes applied. Last but not the least, how would you benefit from it in terms of, would it generate money? Would it generate IP? Would it generate licensing? Would it be utilized? Would it benefit the government in some way? So there should be an exploitation plan. How will you market your product when you develop it? So that's where most of the time in exploitation, you have industry aligned, because they have been releasing products and benefiting money from there. So they are part of that, besides maybe some others from university and NGO. But they are leading, industry is leading, because they understand how to market a product. Then what's the impact like when you do this? So there are a lot of things that you need to be very careful of. So is your proposed solution sustainable? And among the UN goals of Sustainable Development Goals, where you can see whether it addresses the challenge of hunger, whether it addresses a social good cause, something like against racism, or perhaps there is like fake news spreading, like 5G is causing COVID-19, for instance. Does it handle disinformation? So those are kind of some of the goals which could be included in Sustainable Development Goals. Likewise, there are NDPs such as Ireland's own National Development Plan for, let's say, next couple of years, like 2018 to 2027. Does it contribute to that vision or not? And if it does, you have to identify and tell exactly where does it contribute to, because if it doesn't contribute to such and such, definitely your idea would not be considered worthy of to be funded from within Ireland's scheme. Likewise, there is another vision, NFP, which is 2040. So you have to touch this. And then who are your users who are going to use your solution? You can't just say, I'm building a solution, but I don't know who's going to use it. So you have to justify that, just like who will be my user. So these are a couple of goals for SDGs from UN, like no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being. So like 17 of them, and you have to say where you tick them and how your project would actually handle those and detail it out so that it becomes justifiable. Strategic investment have a little different flows. You can see housing and sustainable urban development. It's very much centric to Ireland, as a lot of you would know that Ireland has a lot of issues around housing and renting crisis and all these kind of things. Again, rural development is an issue, and water and so on and so forth. So you have this 2040 vision of Ireland as well, and you just need to say where you are in that when you apply for this. Agencies to apply: EI, IDA. At most you can get 2 postdoctorals. I mean, not at most, but example, like two postdoctorals could be funded for this project. There is SFI, which is like 200 to 400K grant calls, and there are a lot of this within these strands. Then there are EU, which covers large projects such as 3 million per project, which is a huge thing. There could be targeted projects, industry-led, so industry releases certain funds because they want academia to contribute to that, and once that is delivered, then industry can take it on from there. So industry sets the budget for that. Then there are types such as feasibility study, like whether your idea will work. So we want to see the market analysis of it. We want to see if there is a potential. We call this a feasibility study. Up to 15K of grant, which we given like 3 months cost to see just the market. Must be innovative. So you can't just say, I want to open a restaurant. That's not innovative. Likewise, there are commercialization funds. So I must be innovative again. In this, the idea is you create something and you will commercialize and create a spin-off out of it. So that is another type. Then there are cascading funds, which I think would be discussed later on, and there are other funding schemes as well. TRL levels, as we have been talking about, they start from 1 to level 9. You can see. So the 1 to 3 is kind of fundamental research where basic principles are observed, technology concepts are formulated, and experimental proof of concept is ready. So it's far away from production, right? It's in the space of imagination and realization of bit of technology. So that's fundamental research. From 4 to 6, this is where development starts to happen. We validate these concepts in a lab setting. We invite people to test in a lab setting, which could be in chemistry. It could be very clear. In computer science, it could be like you invite people to use whatever prototypes you develop and see what is the response according to that. Or for example, whatever you have identified computationally, and see how much agreement you get out of users. Likewise, you validate through an environment. You demonstrate whether it works or not. So there is a prototype at this stage in the development which can be utilized. 7 to 9 is more like deployment, where you use the prototype demonstration in operational environment, the real environment. This is where like Facebook and the likes of LinkedIn works. System is completed and qualified, and then actual system becomes operational. A lot of the industry would also act over here, where they create a prototype and sell it to someone else who would then think about how to deploy that in a more actual form of the setting. So these are like kind of, so from here to here, maybe academia concentrates on, but if there is a spin out, definitely from commercialization fund, we can of course go up to that level, or maybe 6 to 7 perhaps. So finally, if I were to say like team formation, a good example could be, one of the example could be 7 partners, 3 universities, 2 industry, 2 NGOs. That could be a niche balance of having a team being formed. There are preliminary structures of upcoming calls of Horizon Europe. where they have multiple pillars, and they ask for, like, these are like where the funding schemes, where you can apply for funding schemes, and then you need to read each of the document called available online, which they can revise because it's coming from EU. Then the pillars are health, cultural, and all these kind of things. The clusters in which are you participating, maybe digital, industry, and space. So maybe you're proposing something to do with going out in the space. So that could be one of your strengths. Likewise, there are other ecosystems that are available in terms of the innovativeness. So you need to know where you are hitting your tick box, and on the basis of that, you then formulate your proposal. And the proposal is just not like around your technology, but it's also around like how does it help the world in a bigger context as defined by the policy under whose funding scheme you're applying. And then there are widening participations, bringing people from different parts so that diversity is there. Different opinions can come into play. Maybe Germany is an expert in certain area, and maybe Ireland is another, and so on and so forth. So that's pretty much it, I think, from my end.
Yeah, thanks so much, Atif. It's like a very good like information, and we've got a holistic view of the research funding types covering both academic and industry, but with, of course, a more focus on the academic side, as is your experience. Next, I would like to go to Faisal, who will bring us a deep dive on the same area, but with more focus on the industrial perspective. Up to you, Faisal. I think his connection is not behaving good today. Let us, let us wait for 30-40 seconds, and if not, then we'll move on to our next panelist.
So I think this is a very typical. All the project managers, they always remind, hey, you have your power adapter, you have your backup, and that's the first reminder we always get from our work colleagues.
Yeah, this is all the virtual world.
I'll say, like, if there is no breakage, it's not an IT seminar. We have to justify ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry guys. Again, I don't know. It's the first time my internet is behaving really bad.
Maybe your router needs a restart after your presentation.
I restarted during the presentation. So that's why I was switching between mobile and. Okay, so is it my turn to present? Right. Okay. So let me share my screen.
Go ahead.
Hopefully it works for me for the next 5 minutes.
One, two, three. Oh, very good.
Is it okay? Can you see my slides?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, so I think Ahmed, Dr. Arthur, sorry, gave really good overview of how the whole research mechanism and vehicles work, like from start to end, and what really people are looking for in this, and how the proposal gets called and what is involved in those proposals. So in here, short presentation, I'm just going to give very high level overview what industry thinks, for those proposals. So one of the, sorry, just give me a second there. Sorry. There. Okay, I think so. Someone was knocking at the door. Okay, so we have 5 pillars here. So the first. Okay, sorry guys. Let me just give me a second.
It's fine, Faisal. We are, so these days, we are working from home, and we are used to these kind of things, so it's fine.
We are all parents, don't worry.
Yeah.
So we should take pride on this, right? We are working from home.
आजकल तो जो है ना वो कुत्ते और बिल्लियां वो जो है ना वो अपने साथ बैठा के वो मीटिंग्स हो रही हैं. It's very very common now.
Yeah.
Sorry,
In
guys,
fact,
I'm really apologize.
like in the company, there is actually goals set up to make sure that employees take it normal. If the connection is down, like in the meeting, and like anything like in happening, like it's fine.
Yeah, no, sorry. Sorry, guys, it's too much disruption today. I don't know. I do it every day, and nothing happens.
Vessel, let me just, I think I can see something very interesting from your side. So what you're going to deliver is going to add a lot of value. You're going to learn a lot of.
It's good to hear. But yeah, I quickly try to finish so before I get another disruption. So on the top we have the, let's say, organization's business goals, right? So that's the key thing. Like that's where what is driving the companies, right? So when they see that they want to contribute to any research or they're looking for research collaborations, so the first thing they look at how strategically this research is aligned. So as Dr. Adolf mentioned, there are research calls from EUH 2030, SFI, all these through different mechanisms. But for within the organizations, you have to look at, okay, what call is aligned with our tech strategy in for next, let's say, 5 years for the company. So example of that could be, for example, IBM's focus is now these days, like for next few years, is IBM hybrid cloud and cognitive applications for AI. So that's where, like, the companies, once it's aligned, they will try to look into those research proposals and try to find out the potential collaborations. So then once they are into the collaboration area, the few things they actually, which from a personal experience, like I have observed, like what makes a collaboration more successful between industry and, let's say, academia or overall in a research proposal. So the first thing is how, when you're putting a proposal together, like how your project or proposal is, how relevant is it to the call? So as Dr. Arthur mentioned, it must be relevant to the call. Like if, let's say, EU is asking for proposals in the healthcare, especially for the COVID-19, you cannot go on and start presenting a very generic idea in the healthcare domain or totally irrelevant things. So, and then the other things that matter in the proposals is the reputation of the partners, their background IP, like have the expertise within the technologies they are proposing in the call that they want to develop. And also generally, like one of the key aspects in those proposals is writing is the showing an impressive impact section. So generally, like there are like few pages where you write, okay, whatever you're going to develop, how much impact is going to make, like in the overall. So that's like after development, what would be the impact of the technology? Another key through the experience in different proposals, EUH 2030.
Or it looks like we still have some issue in the connection. We'll wait for a minute.
This is a peak time. Everyone woke up, and kids at home, and contention ratio is going to be like 150.
Yeah, with the different industry verticals. Mm-hmm. So that's all about how to make the collaboration successful research. But then for the industry, like in the organizations, what matters is, let's say, once you have the project one, you have the research project, you are in that yellow circle. So now here, generally, like the organizations, they try to think, okay, what technologies we want to develop, so in that space, like you are thinking about your existing products, and then you're thinking about the proposal you have, the research project you just have one, and you're thinking about, okay, what we want to develop, which can overlap between existing products, fill the gap in the existing products, but also complement or do the research part which we promised in the proposal. So that's the key area here. So you might be thinking about, okay, there's a product about hybrid cloud, and that has a gap that we want to have cognitive capability of configuring edge computing network by itself, like so something like that. So these kind of it involves like, okay, you need to develop cognitive models which can work with the with the edge computing environment, and in terms of the configuration area. So that gap, if you find out, so that's your focus to develop in terms of prototype. So you're in the red circle in terms of the proof of concepts or the prototypes. So this is what basically research outcome is of your proposal. So generally, like what I observed is that there's a difference between research outcome of research and the product evolutions. And so what I mean by product evolution is that you have existing products in the industry, but generally, like they might not be aligned. Their roadmap might not be aligned with the research outcomes. So you need to. You might have an outcome which is not mature enough to be put in the product. So these kind of decisions you have to make at that stage. And then those decisions generally lead you towards your path commercializing the product, right? And then so this whole like in terms of the success of this whole process is based on the fundamental the questions, right? The fundamental question is that you need to have excellent client base from the industry perspective. You need to have the streamlined processes to convert the ideas into products and then into prototypes and then into commercializable products. So that these are quite important. And then I think in my experience, the most important thing of them all is the people in the team, people in the industry, and people that you work with in the research proposals. So that is the key highlights. Like you need to have experienced people working for the prototypes, for the research as well. And the overall, to all this, we can put that into one question, like why it is important for industries to do the research, right? And the simple answer to that is that you have to stay ahead of competition, right? And then innovation, or you need to bring innovation. And Google is prime example of that. Like Google came out from the ranking algorithm, efficacy of that algorithm, but which was the thesis of the Larry Page, and that got into the company of Google. So this is what research can give you, like if you do it right with the right people and right way. So that was the main slide. Moving on to the next one, I'm just going to highlight, not take too much time here, but I'm going to highlight in terms of funding, what fundings are generally available within the industry. One aspect, maybe most of them, they are covered by Dr. Arthur. So like national SFI, IDA, Enterprise Ireland, EU, international, like H2020. The two things which I want to highlight here, specifically from the industry perspective, is one internal. You probably will be aware that most of the organizations, they have, like especially the large organizations, they have, their dedicated fundings for research units available, and also they collaborate with the different industries, with different universities and the other partners as well. So examples of that, IBM has, master PhD fellowship programs. So every year they open the call for it. Students in PhD or master can apply for the funding. And then, so that's generally based in, it might be based on the data which is available in the industry, but then you are bringing the experience from the research, academia research. So you combine them together and do combined research. Then also specific, I want to touch on a little bit on the specific goals, specific programs. So these are the programs generally available at the international and EU level, and also national level as well. But these are like the LIFE program, that's an EU program, which looks at the environment and climate change. So industries, they like to participate in such programs. The one reason for that is the marketing. So their name is out there, like, okay, the company XYZ is contributing to environment with, by and having an impact on the carbon footprint reduction, something like that. So these kind of are good for the company reputation to buy. So these are the good programs for industries to participate in. So last, I will point audience, actually, people to where how Ireland is doing overall in research. I will point them to maybe that report which gets published through Enterprise Ireland, and it's Innovation 2024. So in that PDF, like, you will see, like, overall research Ireland has scored in terms of H 2020. I think it's about 1.5 billion, something like that. Sorry, the Ireland has scored through H 2020 programs. So you can see all the, where the Ireland's focus is, how much funding is, what are the partners in each program. Either you can see it through Ireland 2040 project or through this innovation report. So that's it from my side.
Yeah, thanks so much, Faisal. Just one question, like, as I'm thinking, like if you go back to your previous slide,
yeah,
this one. So that's to the commercial product. So, like, can I assume that the industrial research, the end goal is 90%? There's a weightage of 90% that a research should go to be part of a commercial product at the end of the day. Is that assumption true, or there are some other use cases where still the companies are doing the research?
That's what I mean by product evolution and the research outcome. So the simple, I can put this question into another question. Let's say, rephrase it in a way that, okay, when we know that a project, let's say, it's a research project or a product, right? So let's say if the outcome of that project, is the short-term outcome, the outcome doesn't meet the short-term needs of the business, then they consider that it's a long-term research project. So we might need to get, so there's a product which, a product roadmap, let's say, in parallel, which is aligned with that research project. So you, over the period of time, you are adding some features to the product, right, through your research. So it's not like all the research outcomes will go into the product. Some might be just simply publications or patents, right? So you secure that intellectual property. But then some, in terms of the commercialization, you see that, okay, there's a huge demand of a particular feature through your, the clients or surveys, and you gauge that demand, and then you say, okay, this feature or this value or outcome of the research, maybe we want to take it to the commercialization path. So not everything will go into the into products.
Just have got a question from the Facebook channel. Like, quickly, like, guys, if you can give the input that, like, in your experience, how many projects, what is the percentage of the project which end up in the TRL level 9? The question is asked by Jamshed.
Shall I go first? Or
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll go first. So it totally depends on the strategic planning of that project. For example, some of the funding schemes actually want you to build yourself up to a point where, in coming years, EU would have certain technology which would be independent of any other nation or any other continent or any other entity. And they might see a strategic goal of hitting that by, let's say, within next 10 years. So what can happen is you will build up technologies which you would see after a few years to be applied at EU-wide level, and they will hit at a TR level 9. So it's not like every other project which is funded should be at TR level 9. For instance, some of the projects are positioned in the way that how can that help policymakers in EU to plan better policy. So that will be not an end user product. Certainly, that would be a product to be utilized by, let's suppose, politicians or mayors and so on and so forth. Likewise, there is a project that is developed for a particular hospital. Of course, we can see that become approaching to real worth of its own TRL level 9 when it goes out to every other hospital out there and converts itself into not a custom-made one solution for one hospital, but perhaps a network of hospitals. So it depends. However, that most of the projects, like I will say, like most of the projects hits some of their goals. If they wouldn't, they would get a lot of accountability, and then perhaps they won't be funded next time from the same entities if they don't deliver the value which they agreed to. So it depends upon what's the objectivity of the funding. If it's at the 6 level, 7 level, it depends. And if it's at the 9 level, then it depends. But it's very unlikely that one single funding would lead something into a TRL level 9 because it's not sufficient.
Got it. Thanks so much, Atif. So like I'm keeping an eye on the time, so let us keep going now, guys. In the same category of types of funding with academic and industrial perspective, while Atif has explained the holistic view of the types and then academic focus, Faisal has explained us the industrial perspective, and now we go to Ehsan, where he's gonna help us understand the cascading research type in the research side. Over to you, Ehsan.
Thank you very much. Can you see my screen?
I can see it now. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can see it? Yeah, okay. Thank you very much, everybody. So I will talk about Cascade funding opportunities in applied research and development today. So basically, the question is, what is Cascade funding? So Cascade funding is also known as financial support to third parties, is actually a European Commission mechanism to distribute public funding in order to assist beneficiaries such as startups, scale-ups, and SMEs in the development of digital innovation. This funding method aims at simplifying the administrative procedures, creating a light SME-friendly application scheme by allowing that some EU funding projects may issue in turn open calls for further funding. So these open calls from EU-funded projects are usually competitive and aims at selecting tech startups for acceleration or incubation purposes. They actually support pilots, demonstrations, and other experiences on experiments on specific innovative technology or framework. Usually, the support offered by these open calls consist of typically range between 20,000 to 200,000, and they are usually shorter duration projects as compared to larger Horizon 2020 projects, which typically run for more than 2 years. But these projects are fairly shorter and quick in terms of their execution, like starting from 3 months to maximum 1 year. And the application process is fairly simple. Usually, it's a single-step process. You just need to submit your proposal, and then you just wait for the reviews. No need for his huge consortium, like building multiple partners, consortium, engaging industry, engaging academia, or engaging people from multiple countries. There is no need for that. Usually small teams which belongs to just 1 or 2 organizations are enough to apply. Cascade funding, as I said earlier, Cascade funding is actually not directly given by European Commission. So European Commission gave funds to large Horizon 2020 projects. These projects then announce open calls for funding with some specific topics. The most important thing is Cascade funding projects is that your proposal must be consistent with EU project under which you are submitting your proposal. So for example, in an NGI-related projects, the open call would be related to 1 or more NGI-related topics. So you should submit your proposal only only surrounding those NGI-related topics, not any other topic. How to apply? Like you should keep liaison with different research groups and institutes. Follow this website, which I mentioned here. It's a European Commission website, and all the open calls are announced on this page. Every open call have different templates for the proposal, so you need to follow the submission instructions. So read the complete call text very carefully. If you have time, arrange a direct call with the open call coordinator. This is very important, and this goes to very plus point to your proposal submission, and you can present your idea to them very briefly that I'm going to submit proposal for this purpose, and they would happy to assist you in shaping your proposal actually. Typically, the open call coordinators have a pool of evaluators who review your proposal independently. So each section of the proposal has different scores and weightage. The reviewer has different set of guidelines from the coordinator on the scores. So each proposal is actually reviewed by at least 3 reviewers. The winners are selected based on the average scores from those 3 reviewers. Reviewers actually typically they are instructed to look in certain parameters which include but not limited to this what I stated here. So these are very important to, like, the reviewers look into industrial and scientific innovation. They look into motivation, how motivated you are to work on this project, and your clarity and methodology. It is very important that you are clear in executing your project, and what methodology you adopt. Is this methodology is actually widely accepted by the community, research community and developers community. And your proposal must be relevant to the open call text, and indication of possible future follow-ups. You should at least give some plan that after this project, what is your future plans to follow up this proposal, like to make this to bring this up a higher tier level for this project. And this is also very, very important, that the proposal success also depends on your team skills and experience and quality. So funding process is as I said, fairly simple. So first, open call announces by the Horizon 2020 projects, and then you submit your proposal. Then the review process happens. Then you got your results, and then after your results, if you succeed, the contract negotiations start. They send you a draft of the contract. If you agree with the terms and condition and the starting date, then you sign your contract and you get your initial funding. Like typically 15% is you will be given for the whole budget, and then with the installments you will get your rest of the funding. Then the project execution, and then you submit your deliverables. After your deliverables reviewed and they are accepted, then you get your final installment. Typically they hold 20% or 25% until the final approval of the project. So these days I am managing one of the open call. It is a Horizon 2020 project called NGIatlantic.eu. Its third open call has been announced. I'm coordinating this open call, so everybody is welcome to submit their proposal. Due date is 26th of February, and funding, you can get funding up to 150,000. Topics of interest are privacy and trust enhancing technologies, decentralized data governance, discovery and identification technologies, strengthening internet trustworthiness with electronic identities, and greening the internet, sustainable and climate friendly NGI. So that's it from my side. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Ehsan. Like, I believe it really helps, to understand the cascading types of funding, as well as, with a practical example, about the funding that you have shown. So just on the last slide. All right. These were the types of funding on the, academical and the industrial side as well. So next session is the example walkthroughs, where we will ask our panelists to give us a walkthroughs with the example projects. And just keeping an eye on the time, because of the network glitches, there was a bit of waste of time, so we are a bit late. So I just suggest if you can try to shorten your next presentation if possible. That would be great. With this, I'll go to Ehsan. So I believe Ehsan has got some content for us where he can show us the example walkthroughs of the research projects that he has worked with.
Yeah, so I would like to share just few success stories in which these are some of the R&D projects, particularly Cascade funded projects in which I personally have been involved during the last couple of years. So first project is machine learning for early lameness detection. So this was a Cascade funding project under a big Horizon 2020 project, which was named as IOF Internet of Food 2020 project. It was a use case implementation of the idea that machine learning can help in classification between healthy animals and lame animals. If the animal become lame and are on antibiotics, their milk and meat cannot be used as per European law. So we selected different farms of dairy cattle across Europe, and there were also 2 farms in Israel. We tie up radio-controlled pedometers on the cow's legs, as you can see in the photographs. These are radio-controlled pedometers. And these pedometers monitor the cow's activities for 20 to 24 hours, such as total number of steps, total lying time in 24 hours, their standing time, and their swaps between standing and lying. So this data then received at a database every midnight, where our machine learning algorithm classify the animals based on their activity from past 7 days. So we compare a typical particular animal's activity with the total herd activity, and then we classify if a particular animal is going to be lame. If one or more animals are identified as lame, an alert have been generated to farmers' mobile app. So for this purpose, we developed an app as well for both iOS and Android. So this was one of the projects which we recently finished. There are the other 2 projects. These are the 2 Cascade actually projects aiming at minimizing the energy consumption and carbon emission in the cloud radio access networks. So C2GRAN is actually, it was born and completed in 2019, while V2GRAN is born recently, just previous month, and it will plan to start from 1st of January 2021. Its contract has been signed. C2GRAN, the idea is actually it's a 5G radio access network. In 5G radio access networks, they are expected to handle huge amount of data. Even yesterday, I attended a seminar in which a presenter who is working on a driverless autonomous car project, she mentioned that all the sensors on an autonomous car generate more than 50 terabyte of data in just 8 hours. So you can imagine the volume of data. So 50 terabyte data per car in 8 hours, and from this figure, like it is huge data. So there are peak times and off-peak times, but the network operators have to over-provision their networks to meet the user's demand at any time. So this result in wastage of resources and energy and ultimately the money. So these projects actually, they exploit the power of machine learning to auto-scale the available resources based on the upcoming demand for the network. Apart from auto-scaling, which involve horizontal and vertical scaling of virtual machines, the virtual machines can also be migrated from one geographical location to another geographical location where renewable energy is available or the energy cost is minimum. So I would say these are very, very, very small typical ideas to work on for particular open call. Let me give just last example. I would like to take how to think like a researcher. So this is typically for this is another project typically for the starting from the internet architecture. So the internet nowadays is built upon a TCP/IP stack which has an adequate core architectural design for the scale it has grown into. The typical internet architecture does not have any inherent security mechanism, no quality of service available, no mobility management is there. So these are all emerged problems which were not in mind of researchers who developed the initial internet 50 years ago. To solve the emerging problems, more and more building blocks are actually added on top of this particular internet stack. So today, internet is a very complex solution in the current result, and has very bad performance and bad security, and it is hard to build and maintain the configuration, and operational cost are actually through the roof. So in this respect, TCP/IP is not unlike our Leaning Tower of Pisa. In human history, we always try to reach for the sky. For example, in construction is the most important part of the building, so which is foundation, because unable because of to make it a stable foundation. The Leaning Tower of Pisa started to sink at the second floor, and it took 3 phases over 199 years to complete. It has had numerous very costly structure renovations during this time, and the straightening of the Leaning Tower from 5.5 degree to 3.9 degrees completed in 2013, which costed 30 million euros. On the other hand, the ancient Egyptians actually used their knowledge and past experiences to build the Great Pyramid in less than 20 years. And it was the tallest building in the world over 3,800 years until 1311. And its structural integrity is still intact. So I would like to share this one example that how internet architecture's basic foundation is very weak. So we created another project. We participated in the project which actually called as RINA, Recursive Internet Architecture, and it uses structured and scientific approach to network. So these are the only 3 types of network nodes: just host, interior, and border routers. There is no need to middle boxes like firewalls, NAT, IDS, IPS. So the recursive internet architecture actually provides communication to the applications by using a single type of layer, which is called as DIF, Distributed Interprocess Communication Framework, and that is actually repeated as many times as required on top of the physical medium. So this is very you can say a structured architecture in which mobility management, quality of service, and security is inherited in this architecture. So start from a very simple idea and build on top of it. You will have the opportunity to get funding for an R&D project. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks so much, Isan. Really appreciate. It is so exciting to see that the research, machine learning being applied in the farming side, and not only to the cars around the cows as well. I hope our audience is getting motivated as well after looking at applications of these IT research projects, in our daily life. I'll just go next to Atif. At a very brief level, if you can, name us some of the example projects that you have experienced with, recently.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you very much. As somebody has mentioned about a lot of the things, and it's very similar to my experience as well in a way. So the technical words that I have been, first of all, I'll just talk about the technical words around which most of the projects were surrounded with, were about machine learning, because machine learning and AI is kind of the thing these days for innovative and disruption. No matter what we do, this has been the focus of Ireland. So this has been pivotal to me. Besides that, an additional thing that I have been concentrating on is around search services. Especially, you can see in the COVID scenario where people were looking for finding something that did not exist before, or did not know that it exists over there, or we don't know the solution. So in this scenario, having specialized search services would be quite useful. And this is what we are currently contributing. I mean, I'm leading one of the projects in the COVID SFI grant, where we are developing a search engine where we find novel relationships between the concepts, for example, like saying influenza and certain symptoms, and then trying to see whether a treatment or a therapy that would utilize maybe for some other type of similarly, or maybe a different, but some similarly symptomized disease, can we learn something from there and bring that forward to the researchers, even to come up with a treatment, or come up with the therapy, or come up with some other ideas or drug or something like that. One of the challenges in such kind of projects when you propose, I mean, all of them is kind of, first of all, you have to find partners who can help you. So for example, if I'm coming from computer science And if I'm developing something for COVID, then definitely I need pharmacists in my team. I need medical practitioners in my team. I need doctors in my team. We need other people to have different viewpoints. If we are going for a search services, we need to have librarians who deal with this in the medicinal domain. So who are our users, who are our partners, are one of the most important questions whenever I look for a project. And this has happened in all of the projects that have contributed to. Some of the other projects that I've contributed to were in the space of disinformation, fake news, because we educate people in schooling systems, and then social media comes in with lots of fake news and confuses the masses, and then government has to pay a lot of price to eradicate the confusions and the fake stories that are being spread, which can cause riots and all sorts of nonsense that otherwise wouldn't exist. So I'm also contributing to one of those projects which is funded by EU Horizon 2020. Another project that I've worked with previously and was success was around predictive maintenance. So there were like hardware engineers who are managing subsea walls, and if a wall fails, the oil will spill into the water, into the sea, which is huge environmental cost and as well as commercial cost. Loss of money and loss of environment. So if we can predict before it fails and then do the maintenance before it fails, that would be great. So I contributed to one of those projects, which was definitely a success, and a lot of the ideas were adopted by the partner who benefited from this project, which is a multinational firm. Then there is another project I worked on. It was again a success. It was licensed, and it was licensed twice in a year, which is great value. And this was around discovering news stories using news articles and as well as chatter around on the social media, and see whether those stories are worthy of news coverage. So imagine Hillary Clinton was running elections in 2016, let's suppose, and what's the buildup of her presidency? This is a story. So where did she start from? What did she do? And so on and so forth. So at the end of year, maybe like a year roundup or something like that, we need to stitch stories together to give more ethical form of journalism, not just journalism being ethical, but also comprehensive and complete, and pick the really important bits, what shaped something. And this helps in analysis, this helps in backing things with facts and figures and all these kind of things. And that project was also a success. So overall, what I'll say, technical words, machine learning, search services, anything that helps with the policymakers empowered, facts and figures, and these have been my overall contribution so far. So thank you.
Lovely, Adit. Thanks very much, for a comprehensive information about the example projects and the applications of like IT in so much diverse areas. So that's really fascinating. Let us go to Faisal to wind up on our example walkthroughs. So Faisal, can you give some names of the projects at high level that you have done like in last 2 years?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Ahmed. So I just share a slide so people can look at the website as well. So it's back on the same slide. Okay, so the few projects I have listed here. So the first project I have not like myself executed, but it's a success story. And it's about IBM Social Campaign Manager. And so this project, our team, actually IBM Innovation Exchange, finished it this year. And I contributed to the level of putting the proposal together, and then also in terms of brainstorming on what technology we want to develop or what gap we want to fill out. So that was my contribution to some extent, but obviously it's a whole team work. So in that, imagine you have a policy maker, like a government, who wants to introduce, let's say, a new tax. So they want to gauge what is the public opinion on that. So they can run a campaign on Twitter. So what we have behind scene is the chatbot. So that works on Twitter, and also admin can input their campaign, and also the questions and the answers and how the whole and behind And we use Watson NLP technology to understand what people are saying in the Twitter, and extract the knowledge from it, and then present it to the policymaker. So this is open source, publicly available. And there's a blog, there's a IBM developers website. You can use it. And the other project that we just finished last year was a develop project. So this project was on and was about helping employees within their organizations to develop their career. So research has shown that the employees actually who have got the job, they get the least kind of a focus in terms of developing in terms of promotion or developing their career. People kind of forget about it, and then especially when we look into the skills like transversal skills, such as like collaboration, leadership skills, communication skills. So the soft skills, we call it. We call them transversal skills in social science literature. They are called transversal skills because they are applicable from one job to the other job. So this in future, employer will be asking these skills more than, okay, how much Java you know, or the Java and C# and these technologies are job specific skills. And even there's a research going on where machine learning models can develop the source code. And we have one project in the team which can develop the test cases. So we don't need tester. So then, but this project was specifically on assessing the soft skills, and then presenting and making employees aware of their soft skills, and then recommending them within their organization the learning material they can for them to develop on. And then further, once they complete the courses, they can do the assessment again, and then it tell you like, have you improved it or not. And the assessment part was multiple, like you do assessment through behavioral assessment, but also we did the assessment through the social network analysis, like where the soft skills are not even developed by your intrinsic values, such as like your own personality, but they are also impacted through the external you interact with. So the people you interact with, they actually influence you in developing your skills or your personality. So we were looking at from both sides, intrinsic and extrinsic values in terms of assessing those skills. So that was quite an interesting project. It's completed, but at the moment, these last two projects are still going on. And there's one COPKIT. This is about law enforcement agencies. So in this project, they are looking at developing tools and techniques for the police analysts to get the early warning or early actions alerts on crimes. So the tools, mainly we are focusing here on the text analytics from the .web domain. So so a lot of things in there. Some are confidential, but mainly focus area is the text analytics and the .web domain. And so one example I can give the tools we are developing in IBM, or we are contributing, is the spatial temporal analysis. For example, generally statistics office in the countries, they have the reports. So the burglary happened or the kind of crime happened. So we try to predict on which area what crime type will happen in future or at what time. So that's the spatial temporal prediction. So the recent another is ICONET project. This is about, like, imagine you have the internet. So in the internet, the TCP packets gets routed from one source to the other destination. You don't even realize it. But try to bring that concept of digital internet into physical world. So that's the research, right? So in the logistics supply chain networks, you try to build tools which can help them to flow like a TCP IP packets. So that's a quite new area, but in 50 years time, like there'll be a lot of work in this domain. So that's it from my side.
All right, thanks so much, Faisal, for the valuable insight about the industry projects that you personally have exposure to in the last few years. Here, I really want to appreciate and thanks all the panelists. That you guys have taken out the time. Have done the preparation and brought the valuable content to the IPIP audience. Now I'll go to our next session where I will ask our panelist Nawaz, who is in fact the co-driving force of the IPIP success. So Nawaz, can you please help us understand our immediate plans post this session and also upcoming IPIP fire chat sessions? Over to you, Nawaz.
Thank you very much. First of all, I really want to thanks. This is around more than a year now since we have started IPIP, and everyone in the community is actually, it's not easy task. Like if I will just as high level just gauge this webinar, and everyone is working on their busy schedules, and just to deliver, just to add a value into the community. This is we must be striving, and we must be getting the guidance and giving the guidance. I'm just going to share a screen to so what we are thinking. We heard everything in R&D. There's a loads of money in the community. There's loads of money from EU, loads of money from Enterprise Ireland, and how IPIP and how IT uh, community or ICT community from Ireland can benefit from that. So we are not going to leave this one, the information here. We really want to drive from here. So the first thing is we are planning to create a R&D forum, and this IPIP R&D forum will just engage maybe more projects, or maybe just do the brainstorming how we can integrate ourselves in R&D side. We have a loads of industry expertise within Ireland, and we have a loads of references where we can work forward. So please send us email on info@ipip.ie if you are interested, if you want to be a part of R&D forum, and we can go from there. I also want to announce another thing is this research and development is not going to be the end story of of just brainstorming and getting some funding from EU and Ireland. We just want to create a community who do think as an entrepreneur, who think how we can start up. I knew a loads of people in Ireland. They have been working in different companies from maybe 5 to 10 years, and they are always talking about startup. Let's come forward. Let's think how we can innovate something, how we can take benefit from R&D, and we can do some startup. We can do some sort of entrepreneurship. So last week of December, we are planning to do another webinar and in entrepreneurship and startup. Uh, if anyone is interested to be part of this one, please come forward, send us information, and we will be working together. The one message, I know there is a holiday season is coming. Take one member from your community, train that person, and just train, just anything. You can just give some time for CV, just train someone to some sort of the language, or maybe just motivate someone who, like, I know that a lot of guys, they have BSc and MSc, they are not working in IT industry, they are working in another industry, and if they are interested, just give them some time, help them. And I will request and I urge, Ireland is a place where everything in IT industry, either it is researched, it is developed, or launched. So you are sitting in a country where IT jobs are very easy to get. So we are here to help you, and just be in contact with us. That's all. I just want to say thanks again to our panelists. This is amazing. We learned a lot from this one, and we will go forward to entrepreneurship and startup seminar, where we will utilize this information for our upcoming seminars. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thanks so
Back
much,
to you, Alan.
Nawaz. Now we go to our Q&A session. It was a good thing that we got, many questions like on the way that we already have answered. But specifically, I just see a question now by Jamshed Ali again. So the question is, what is the best way to transit from industry to R&D? Can you be a researcher and in industry at the same time? It's a very nice question. So who wanna take, from the panelists, guys?
I don't.
Okay,
Hasan
I'll go
bhai,
with you first,
go
yeah.
first.
please, Atif bhai.
Hasan bhai, go first.
Okay, there is no need to be like a researcher and in industry. Like you can be a researcher and you can be in the industry at the same time. So whatever comes into your mind, any small idea for anything, like you're going to solve any simple problem, and you want to be to run that, like to go ahead from there. So that's your research idea, and you can go ahead from that. So you can be part of the industry, you can be part of the academia, you can be part of the any research institute. So there, it doesn't matter. For funding perspective, it doesn't matter that you from where you belong to. So you just discuss your idea. Maybe as Nawaz Bhai said, we have an R&D forum. So you can discuss your idea. The other experienced researcher, they are here to help you, and they can flourish your idea to make a good proposal for you. And you can stay within industry, you can stay within institute. It doesn't matter, I think.
All right, over to you,
Okay.
Atif.
Okay, so I think like there are many things in this question. The way it could be seen, like it depends upon who is it, who and where it's coming from. So, for example, when you're talking about you are already sitting in the industry and you want to engage in research. So one of the things could be like, I haven't done PhD. So the idea is like I still want to be part of industry and I still want to do something exciting which passionates me as a researcher. So one of the things is there are funding schemes in which you can stay as an employee of industry and you can do PhD, where some part of the money would come from Irish government, some part of the money would come from industry. So you'll still, there are schemes where you will be still an employee of industry and as well as a part-time PhD. From industry's perspective, the risk of the cost of getting to put somebody on a riskier path, which they can consider maybe this research will come through or not, would be then entertained by the Irish government money. So that is one of the possibility. Another possibility is there is a person who thinks like, I don't want to go and do some PhD, but still I want to think about like how can I benefit from some research role by staying within the industry. So what happens is sometimes even we as an academic or we as an industry person, we feel like what we are trying to achieve is not catered in that place. So what we do is we switch our positions to a more suitable place where what we want to achieve, we go there, give an interview, and get our job switched to there if the same place is not entertaining the passion that we have. Another thing is sometimes, when you are over there, they will allow some time to yourself. And if you can propose an exciting idea within your own time, that would be counted as kind of part of your own development, which a lot of the industry would see as a positive thing, because you are trying to grow out from where you were and you are trying to raise up towards the leadership role. So what needs to be done is you need to discuss this with your line manager and see what the line manager says. And perhaps there could be another opening of a project within the industry where you are working at, and they can place you into that project where you can actually be part of that. Sometimes there is a project in which research elements are there and on which they usually put people who are who holds PhD and who are doing that kind of a role within the industrial setting, or they are partnering with academic funded project. They can just place some of your time into that team, which can actually then be part of your research time. So it's all about letting this to be known to your line manager, and then line manager can put you towards other units, and within industry we are sometimes working in different projects as well. So this can help, like if you get yourself known that you are interested in some kind of thing. So industry, depending upon what kind of industry is that and how many projects they have, how big their team is, they can then make you a cross-functional member of a team where there is some research work being done on the lines in which you are interested. Yeah, I hope that answers.
Yeah, thanks so much. I just want to add, like in my experience as well, I think like it's quite possible to move, between the industry and the research, like in both ways. Okay, with this, we are done with our sessions. I hope all the audience have enjoyed this session and found it valuable. I would ask you guys to keep your feedback coming through our website, our WhatsApp group, our Facebook, and the YouTube channel. And hope to see you soon in our next, Fight Chat number 4 soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you, everyone.